Pandemic Diaries, Episode 3, from the Diary of Samuel Pepys regarding the Great Plague of London. Sir W. Batten and I took coach to the coffee house in Cornhill, where much talk about the Turks' proceedings, and that the plague is got to Amsterdam, brought by a ship from Argier, and that it is also carried to Hamburg. June 22nd, 1664. The plague grows mightily among the Dutch, both at sea and land. July 25th, 1664. The plague is very hot still, and it increases among the Dutch. May 24th, 1665. All the news is of the plague growing upon us in this town, and of remedies against it, some saying one thing, some another. April 30th, 1665. Great fears of the sickness here in the city. It is being said that 2 or 3 houses are shut up already. God preserves us all. June 7th, 1665. This day, much against my will, I did in Drury Lane see 2 or 3 houses marked with a red cross upon the doors, and "Lord, have mercy upon us" written there. It was a sad sight to me, being the first of that kind that to my remembrance I ever saw. June 10th, 1665. In the evening home to supper, and there, to my great trouble, hear that the plague is come into the city. But where should it begin but in my good friend and neighbours, Dr. Burnett, in Fenchurch Street, which in both points troubles me mightily. June 15th, 1665. The town grows very sickly and people afraid of it. They're dying this week alone, 112 of the plague, from 43 the week before. June 30th, 1665. Myself and my family, we are in good health. August 16th, 1665. It was dark before I could get home, and so land at churchyard stairs, where to my great trouble, I met a dead corpse of the plague in the narrow alley. I thank God I was not much disturbed at it, but I shall be aware of not being late abroad again. August 28th, 1665. But now how few people I see, and those walking around like people that have taken leave of this world. August 31st, 1665. This month ends with great sadness upon the public through the greatness of the plague, everywhere through the kingdom almost. Every day sadder and sadder news of its increase. In the city died this week 6,102 people of the plague. And the fear is that the true number is closer to 10,000. Partly because of the poor that cannot be taken notice of, and partly because of the Quakers and others that will not have any bell ring for them. As for myself, I am well. September 14th, 1665. To hear that poor Payne, my waterman, had buried a child and is now dying himself. To hear that a labourer that I sent just the other day to Dagenham is now dying of the plague. To hear that my own waterman, who carried me daily, fell sick and is now dying. To hear that Mr. Montague is sick with a desperate fever. To hear that Mr. Luels had another daughter sick. And lastly, to hear that both my servants have lost their fathers this week of the plague puts me into great apprehension of melancholy, and for good reason. December 31st, 1665. So ends this year in this manner. It is true, we have gone through great melancholy because of the great plague. But now the plague is abated. And I am intending to get to London as soon as I can. My family, that is my wife and our maids, having been there these 2 or 3 weeks. January 3rd, 1666. With great joy, I received the good news of the decrease of the plague this week to 70. Good news. January 10th, 1666. We hear, to our grief, that the plague has increased this week from 70 to 89. January 13th, 1666. If the plague continues in this manner for another year, the Lord knows what will become of us. January 16th, 1666. So home late at my letters, and so to bed, being mightily troubled by the news of the plague being increased yet again. January 23rd, 1666. Good news, beyond all expectation, of the decrease of the plague being now but 79. February 1st, 1666. Up and to the office. We're all the morning till late. And Mr. Coventry with us for the first time since before the plague. And to hear that my wife has gone abroad to buy things and to visit her mother and father, whom she had not seen since before the plague. March 13th, 1666. The plague increases again this week from 28 to 29. April 5th, 1666. The plague is, to our great grief, increased 9 this week. And this increase runs through many parishes, which makes us much fear the next year. April 23rd, 1666. This morning, the House of Parliament do meet, only to adjourn again till winter. The plague, I hear, increases in town and exceedingly in the provinces. May 12th, 1666. The plague increases in many places, and it is 53 this week with us. July 4th, 1666. Thanks be to God. The plague is, as I hear, increased but 2 this week. But in the country, it rages mightily, and in many places, particularly in Colchester, where it is believed that it will quite depopulate the place. November 20th, 1666. I to the office a little, and then to church, it being Thanksgiving Day for the cessation of the plague. But Lord, how the town do say that it is hasten before the plague is quite over. They're dying, some people still. April 4th, 1667. At the dinner table, one told an odd passage in this late plague, that in Petersfield, I believe he said, one side of the street all the houses were infected, while on the other side, not one was shut up. This too shall pass, because this has all happened before and will happen again. Stay safe.